Welcome to Real Estate Real Talk with me, Skyleigh. I'm a realtor, coach, and founder of Forever Kamloops and Forever Kelowna Real Estate Groups and the creator of Elevation Real Estate, the realtor coaching platform. After nearly a decade in this industry, I've built a business that gives me more freedom, more income, and more time with the people I love. And now I'm here to help other realtors do the same. This podcast is for agents who want to build a thriving real estate business without burning out. We talk about scaling smart and building systems so you can buy back your life, because life shouldn't feel like all work and no play. And if you're a buyer or seller tuning in, consider this your backstage pass. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with top agents and industry pros, giving you the same insights we share behind closed doors. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can advocate for yourself and work with someone who truly has your back. Let's get real. Yeah, so I'm sitting here with Kalinka today. She's a mortgage broker with the HomeHappy Team, and you are located in Kelowna. However, you're licensed throughout all of BC. And I think that you said, did you tell me that your team is like all over Canada though, isn't it?
Yeah, we can operate all over Canada. We do focus in BC because the heart of the business is here, but our principal has been in business since 1999, so it's quite a bit of experience and stories, and yeah.
I love that so much. Okay, cool. I think that it's great to have people over a large area, and it's great for business for you sending referrals and all of that kind of stuff as well. So really cool. I'm so happy to have you here today. Is there any background or anything you specialize in that we want to tell the listeners right off the bat?
Yeah, a little bit of background. As Skyleigh said, I am in Kelowna. I've been in Kelowna raising my family. I have a 5-year-old boy for about 5 years. I came from Ontario, where I lived for about 10, and originally I'm from Brazil. And we have a passion, and what I like to say is, take the career or profession away. What we really do is help people, is create connections. And that's what we try to do. So we use mortgage as a vehicle, as a tool to create that. But at the deep heart of the business, what we do is help clients have financial freedom. And whether you are a first-time home buyer or whether we're trying to refinance your home, what we want to know is your story, where you are right now, where you're going, and then we help you craft that path for you to achieve your goal. But in a nutshell, that's how we like to put it. That's how we help clients.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you touched on something, which is having a relationship business, which is the way that I operate as well. And I'm curious to know how that has helped your business, just like leaning into the relationship aspect of it as opposed to making it a transactional.
1,000,000%. I believe that, and it's not to talk about the banks, but a lot of banks, they will do a transaction. That's all they do. And they are driven by numbers. And so there's not a human connection. And in the world that we are, especially after COVID and everything that's gone digital, everything has gone digital these days, the human connection really lacks in a relationship or in your day-to-day activities. And so what we really try to do is understand that client story, understand what's priority to them, put ourselves in their shoes. Hey, I've been in your shoes, or we have clients who have gone through your stories. And so connection, relationship is everything in this business, is really what makes your business different from the bank who's across the street or the other mortgage broker, right? There's something different once you connect to that client's story and really into their journey. So relationship connection is everything in every single business, if I could ever say that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that there's a superpower in women in business because we're just nurturing humans typically off the bat. Like, it's just like in our core. You have a kid, you understand what I'm saying? Like, we just like taking care of people as women. And so being in an industry where you have to take care of your clients and really put their stuff first, having the superpower of being a woman and like a nurturer just from a baseline has been great for me. I'm sure it's been great for you too, especially since we are in this relationship kind of industry. I'm curious to know how working with a mortgage broker is helpful for evolving like your client goals and stuff like that. So obviously, like you said, we're in a relationship industry. Each client is very different. So when their goals are changing, how is it that a mortgage broker can help with that?
I love this question. And it's one of the things, I'm sure we're going to dive into that a little bit, but it's one of the things that differentiates us, the HomeHappy team, from other lenders or mortgage brokers, banks. But what we try to do is walk alongside that client. For example, if you walk into a branch today and you say that you need a mortgage, sure, you can get a mortgage. That mortgage will sit in the bank until 5 years have passed. And then you're going to receive a letter in the mail say, hey, it's time for your renewal. And so with us, what we do is we take that client's story, that mortgage, that relationship, and we carry all the way through. So you're going to hear from me. I'm sorry, but like once a year at least, minimum, you're going to hear. Kalinka's going to call you. I'm going to send you an email. I want to know if you have kids. Has anything changed? Unfortunately, sometimes there's like a sick parent who came live with the family, and we need to know, right? Kids are off to college, or the credit cards are racked up. We need help. So we really try to nourish that relationship, but the main focus is to help that family. Because like I said in the beginning, Skyleigh, our goal is to help people create financial freedom. If I don't know their story, if I don't know the details of what's happening every single year, how can that mortgage work for them? Right? If you think about it, zoom out a little bit, 5 years in a mortgage, there's so many things that can change. Right? You have kids and you have two little ones. And so there's so much that can change. And what we try to do is be in contact with that client every single year. If that client needs more than once a year connection, yes, we'll be here to do that. Aside from that, talking a little bit more technical, we put that mortgage into a monitoring system who tells us, hey, this lender over here has a better opportunity for your client. And so we'll contact that client. We'll say, hey, if we switch, you could potentially keep more money in your pocket. If we structure it in a different way, you could potentially save this much. And so it's a constant monitoring and relationship and keeping track and wanting to know about their lives. And we have many different tools that allow us to do that. And I can get into that if you want. But in a nutshell, that's how we do it. That's the difference of doing business with the HomeHappy team versus just placing your mortgage on a 5-year term at a bank.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're reminding me of a number of stories. And so I'm curious to know, because this has happened to me so many times, where my client goes with a bank for their mortgage because it's the thing they think of first, right? Like when you think of like money and like where money belongs, you think of the bank. So a lot of times people go to their bank and say, I need my pre-approval. And then it's happened to me so many times where my favorite mortgage brokers have to save the deals because things are going sideways at bank level. So I love that it's a customized plan and that you get to know people and like you're really advocating for them. So I want to know, do you have a story off the top of your head that you can share about just like completely turning around a deal that almost is dead in the water and you just like...
Yeah, when a client first comes to us, just from having a conversation with us, they get the idea how we are different than the banks, how we are not a number-based transaction or type of business. But a story that comes to mind is recently a client did walk into a branch. They had a mortgage with that branch or with that bank, and they were sending renewal letters. And so they were offering the client a certain percentage, prime minus whatever. And the client called us and they're like, hey, this sounds great. They can save me $200 a month. And this is what they can do for me. And we're like, okay, let us take a look at it. Let's compare against the market and see if that really aligns with your plans. And they're like, oh, okay. So we sat down, we had many conversations. We talked about their plans, their goal, 5 years. We zoom out from 30 feet above. Let's see what you want. And it ended up being that for that client and the plans that they had, they needed to get out of that mortgage within 2 to 3 years. And it was going to cost them like $17,000 in penalty. And so we were talking for like the flashy rate or that $200 that you might save on a monthly basis might seem, wow, this is great. But on the flip side, on the other side, how does that really align with your goals? Because if it's going to cost you this much for you to get to your goal, is that really worth it? We've had many different conversations and stories where it's like literally saving the client from that experience or that deal because it had nothing to do with their plan. So sometimes the flashy rate or that incentive has nothing to do with where you're going.
Yeah, you're getting pitched the rate because they want you to be with them long term and locked in for a longer amount of time. Oh my gosh. It actually kind of reminds me when we were in COVID with all the rates. They were super low. And then as the rates started increasing after everything going back into the normal world, there was a number of people that I know that were getting stuck in hard rate scenarios. For example, I know that there were so many people that didn't lock in when they should have, if they were on the lower end for the variable rate, because the variable rate was better at one point. And then as it was slowly ticking up, there was a number of people that I know that locked in down in like the 2% range. And then all of a sudden it was like the 7% range. And they're like, thank God I locked in. And there was other people on the opposite side that were like, oh my God, no, I didn't lock in because I was told not to. And from the bank.
Yes. Or
But
the bank never contacted them. The
or
bank
never contacted or anything.
You know,
and I'm like, oh
yeah, when
gosh,
the rates are
crazy.
skyrocketing or vice versa, like the banks won't call you, right? It's not in their best interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the broker world is very much like client focused. Like obviously the better job you do for them, the more likely you are to keep those clients long term. Banks, like you said, is more just a number. I always advocate for brokers for sure. So I love the stories that are kind
and
of
just
around
I
there.
guess to just wrap up here, just for the listeners, like some long-term strategies that they can look for is number one, flexibility, right? So choose a mortgage that gives you that flexibility, that if you need to get out of it, you have control of that. Number two is cash flow or cash flow management. Make sure that if you have high interest debt or whatever is pinching you, that you can combine and create that cash flow that you need, especially if you have family or whatever you're planning to. And then the last one here is really review. So something that we already touched on, but review your goals and your decisions and how you're making decisions, and walk alongside professionals who have the same interest as you, who are looking for your best interests. Yeah.
So what would you say the misconceptions are for working with the bank directly? Because we've touched on it a little bit, but I'm curious to know your kind of perspective as to what the misconceptions are. People do feel like they should go to the bank directly.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, just to back off a little bit, Skyleigh, we're not here to bash banks or talk back about banks. We work with the banks, right? I communicate with our BDMs and our banks every single day, and we're just showing the difference of this side versus this side, and so the client can make an informative decision. But I think the number one thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is to believe that the bank will take care of them, or to believe that the bank will watch for my mortgage. Unfortunately, they won't, because they will take care of what's the best way for them to make money, right? And so I think the number one misconception is to think that, hey, if I place my mortgage at the bank and leave there for the X amount of years, they will take care of me. They won't, unfortunately. Number two is some people are scared of switching from the banks to the broker side because they think that it's a lot of work, and it's actually a seamless process. It's very easy. We deal with all the back-ending, we'll communicate with the lenders. There might be some paperwork that you need to send it to us, but it's really seamless. We'll take care of that process. Yeah, those two are the big ones that come to mind.
I love it. You're being very diplomatic. You are not here to beat up the bank. We do need the banks. I will say that.
Yes,
however,
absolutely.
Not being a mortgage broker, I feel like I have a little bit more leeway to say things. I used to have my license for financial advising, and all the things that I have learned on the back end of finances and the banking world and the insurance world and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I didn't realize is that the banks make the most money off of us as consumers being in debt.
Yes.
Like you said, it's like while you think that they're there to take care of you, they're a business. They're a business.
Yes, absolutely.
So we do need them. We need all of the things in the world in order for it to go round. So obviously I don't want them to disappear. However, I love the knowledge of people understanding what to use the banks for, and then who to use alternatively in order to help them get to their goals as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like some banks, like there's the 5 big street banks out there, but for example, we have access to over 40, 50 lenders. Some lenders will only work with clients who are self-employed. Some lenders will work with clients or specializing clients in different scenarios. And so we'll always try to match, or for example, some lenders only do mortgages, right? They don't do day-to-day banking. And so we'll strategically place that client where it fits best. And the client don't have access to that unless they come to us or they go to a broker or they get educated. And so that's also what we try to do.
I love the strategy behind it. There was a client that I actually ran into recently, and I want to tell you this story so that you can kind of help me with the dialogue the next time it happens. So I have a client who normally I scooch my clients over to mortgage brokers because I feel like they advocate more for you. They do shop the banks on the back end. They get paid commission similar to me, right? We are here to work for you because we don't get paid unless we help you actually secure your property. So those are the reasons that I obviously love mortgage brokers. But I did run into a client recently who had already had his pre-approval done by his bank. And then I had mentioned all the things that I had mentioned just now. And he was like, oh, I can just go shop the other big banks instead of going to the broker and them doing it for me. So anyways, I did handle all of that, but I'm curious to know your perspective because I feel like that's something that kind of comes up periodically where people are like, I'll just do the legwork instead.
It does. And the one thing that I guess we need to be better at educating clients is that the brokers will do all that runaround for them. So we'll not only save you money, of course, because we'll look for ways to save that client money, but we'll save you time. Time doesn't come back. And so imagine you doing all the runaround, calling the banks, going from this branch to that branch. We will do all of that for you on our fingertips, like with all the BDMs and managers of banks that we have access to. So you don't have to. And I think we need to do a better way to educate our clients on that. But also, aside from going shopping for them or, for them or having access to all the lenders, we'll, back to the beginning, we'll understand their story. We'll place them in a product that makes sense to them. Because think about it, if you walk to a branch, that branch has only access to one product. It's that one product and that's all you get. And having a broker who will look for a product and a lender who fits those boxes to make sure that the client will reach their goal it gains over everything else. And it just makes sense for the client.
And then I know the answer to this question. However, I think it's really great for education purposes for you to explain it as well. Kind of just circling back to people shopping the industry for themselves.
Yeah.
This is a conversation that happens quite often where people are worried that they've already talked to the bank and that they've already pulled their credit and that they don't want to go to the mortgage broker anymore because they're like, oh, I don't want them to pull my credit again because it's going to hurt my credit. So can you talk a little bit about that and credit seeking and how dangerous it is to have two people pull it, or how many times it actually has to be in order for it to be affected?
Yeah, for sure. Basics, but anytime someone checks your credit gets affected. So for example, if you come to a mortgage broker, we will pull your credit and that will be valid for 30 days. And so we can use that and we can go shopping across the board and it only impacts your credit once. That's how it's done on our side. Now, when you start shopping by yourself, it might be done differently. Some credit companies will look at it as a span of 30 days and they'll let it pass. But once you're doing it on your own, we can advocate for you, right? It can be done differently. And you have to be really careful because it does affect, and the way that lenders look at it is differently. So if there's a client who shopped with this bank or that bank, some time has passed and they start asking questions, they're like, oh, how come they didn't get approved with this lender or that lender? And so it starts raising flags for the banks, and that can impact you negatively. So you have to be strategic how you do it. That's why handling to an expert is the best way to go, because we know exactly how we do it, and it can save you, again, time, money, your credit, and put you in much better shoes.
Yeah, no kidding. I love the education around all of this. And I feel like that's something that you probably, again, advocate for with your clients, is that you are there to help them through education and being able to answer all of their questions. I wish that the information was more readily available for consumers.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a podcast as well. The Home Happy Team has a podcast, and we have a
Oh,
YouTube
really?
channel with lots of content. We're always pumping out videos and educating clients. We try to do videos around 1 to 2 minutes, which is super quick and educational. But that's a way that we try to educate clients. And I find that everybody's on their phone these days, but people don't really read. They will look at a video. And so we've been trying to keep up with that and educate clients as much as we can. Clients, their friends, their neighbors, anybody they know, pass along the information, because it's not really a problem, but let's say a problem only gets solved, or a challenge, an issue only gets solved once you look at it. And a lot of people don't want to look at it, right? Whether it's a refinance or planning to buy an investment property, or it's too scary, whatever that might be, unless you look at it and you plug in the right professionals to help you with that, you don't really achieve it, right? There's not a map, there's not a path for you to achieve what you're looking for. And so let's look at it. Let's see what are the strategies, the tools that we can use for you to achieve your goal, and then create that map for you.
Yeah, it's challenging having so many ideas as to what you want to do and you just have no idea how to get there.
Yes.
And something that I had learned a number of years ago is to always surround yourself with people who know more than you. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. Like, you need to surround yourself with others. So what you're saying, if you are wanting to invest in real estate, and if you're wanting to even grow a business or get into commercial stuff, like, there's so many different avenues that lending is important for. And
Yes.
yeah, I love that you have the podcast. We'll put it in the show notes, but what is
Yeah.
it called again, just so that everybody knows? Because education,
That's
the more
okay.
people know, the better they can advocate for themselves. So I'm
Yeah.
like really happy about this.
For sure. It's the Home Happy Podcast. It's very
Oh, easy.
simple. It's the Home Happy Podcast. And so is our YouTube and our Instagram. And yeah, we'll share that all. But it's a way that we love to educate our clients. And we have many different tools as well. Every single month, our clients receive our home brew. We call it home brew, which is a monthly digest report, which shows them how much their house is valued, how much their equity position is, what they could qualify for, possible opportunities. And a really cool story that came out of our home brew, the digest every single month, is a client who saw the opportunity to buy an investment property because there was enough equity in his house. And so maybe I could buy an investment property. And so we ran the numbers, we sent different scenarios, and all of a sudden now he's owning an investment property and making investment income. And so that's another tool that we send to clients. And so they're on top of their mortgage or of their one of the biggest investments in their lives. Because we find if you go to a financial planner, you're going to receive the financial statement every single month. You're going to know where your investments are at. With your home, it's not that way. You just sit at it and you pay your mortgage and you try to pay up your bills, and that's how it goes. So we're like, wait a second, how can we provide a tool to clients that allows them to see where they're at, but also the opportunities, right? How much they could qualify for, where their equity position is at. And our clients receive that. And we also have Happy Chat, which is our monthly or so often newsletter. And we'll also educate clients as much as we can. But yeah, we love educating. And I think the more educated we are in every single industry, but we are talking about real estate and the financial industry specifically, the more educated you are, the better decisions you make, right? At the end of the day, we want our clients to make smart decisions. We want our clients to have financial freedom. We want our clients to succeed and see them exactly where they wanted to be or further in life. So yes, we try to educate as much as we can.
I love the home brew. I think that's adorable.
Yeah, it is. It was available in the States for a long time, and now it's in Canada, and we are one of the first ones to have it, and we're so excited. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're reminding me again of another story. There was a realtor that I had interviewed just recently, and he is specializing in the Lower Mainland.
Okay.
And they just did a large rezoning, and he actually is going door knocking, letting people know about this rezoning because there are developers who have learned about the rezoning, and
Right.
they are buying properties from elderly people or
Yes.
people who aren't really like thumb on the market, and they're buying them out from underneath them, thinking the consumer thinks that they got like a really good opportunity to have their home sold like that. And it turns out that obviously the developer knows something a little bit more,
Yeah.
and they're obviously going to be able to capitalize on that rezoning and like redevelopment of it. Just like you said, knowing more is going
Yes.
to help you in the long run, because while that person who had their home purchased by the developer, while they wouldn't be necessarily jumping in to develop the land themselves, they probably could have got more money knowing that it had that opportunity attached to it, especially since the developers are knocking on the door being like, hey, this is a prime location and I want it.
Yeah,
Anyways, he's
absolutely.
door knocking saying, hey, just to let you know, this is what's sitting in your lap right now.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
he feels the same way. He was like, I can't believe that this is happening. And not, it is a lack of knowledge, but it's not on any fault of any, it's not their fault. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
Information is just not
absolutely.
readily available. So I
They had
love
no
that.
idea.
Yeah, sad. So I want everybody to know all the things. So I love would you say happy chat?
Yes, Happy Chat is the newsletter,
Homebrew.
but Homebrew. Yes, Homebrew is the
Homebrew.
monthly
There's
digest.
there's a number of them. I love that so much.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were talking about like proactive planning, like figuring out the equity stance within your home, because obviously there's a lot of fun things you can do with that, like getting an investment
Yeah.
property. But other than pulling money from your home in order to buy an investment property, is there anything else that kind of comes to mind that people could do with knowing their equity stance?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of things, but one thing that we have been helping a lot of Canadians lately, because it is a reality, is we are in a recession, even though they haven't labeled it, but that's what we see when we look at the numbers. And so we've helped a lot of Canadians consolidate debt. And so instead of carrying amounts of credit card debt, paying 22% or whatever amount every single month, we help them consolidate it. It can sound like a scary thing, because last week I had a chat. We have this chat with a lot of clients, but a recent one was last week. The client was like, oh my God, Kalinka, but if I consolidate the debt and pull the equity out of my home, it seems that I'm never paying off my home. I'm like, think about it. If you carry all these credit cards, let's call it, for easy numbers, $40,000, let's say. If you're carrying all this debt plus your mortgage, first of all, you're never going to pay off the debt. You're never going to have, that peace of mind to be able to pay off your mortgage, because you're carrying something heavier on your back. Why don't we clean up the debt? We put you in a lower rate with all that debt to be paid off into one single payment. We stretch that over 30 years. Does it mean it's going to take me 30 years to pay off my mortgage? No, it just means it's going to give you an affordable payment. And what we're going to do is we're going to place you with a lender that gives you the flexibility for you to do lump sums in your mortgage. So then you do shave off 7 years off your mortgage, or whatever years you want, how many years you want. And so that's exactly what we did. Now she is placed with an affordable payment. All her credit is cleaned up. Her credit score is back up. And she's contacted the credit card companies and asked them to lower her credit limit. And it's strategic financing to create that financial freedom. And people are sitting on tons of equity, and they, what your parents or your grandparents have always told you, you need to pay off your house. Yes, we understand that, but we also need to clean it up. We need to clean up the dirt, right? Whether that's credit cards or heavy car payments with 9% interest that we do see that recently. It's let's clean up let's look at what needs to be looked at, and then we'll place you on a strategic, smart way to pay off your house. And like I said, people are sitting on tons of equity. There are so many things that you could do with that equity, whether it is to buy an investment property or a property for your kids who are going to college, whatever that may be. But one of the things that we have been helping a lot of Canadians recently is consolidate debt.
It's so smart too, because I looked at one of the credit cards that I have. The interest rate's wild. It's 26%.
Wow,
I remember when I was 19 and the first credit card I get was like the 19.99%. And now all of a sudden they're like 26%. I'm like, this is wild. But I totally get what you're saying by your client being like, that's scary to pull some equity from my home. But if the amount of money that you are using to pay down your credit cards and a huge chunk of it is actually going to interest, it's going to take you so much longer.
So much longer.
So
And
much
not to,
longer.
yeah. And not to count also what banks love to do is give you a line of credit. The number one product that banks love to do is give you a line of credit. Number one is it costs you money, so it gives them money, but also clients can never pay off a line of credit. Think how hard it is for clients to pay off a line of credit. Nobody does. They use it, but they never pay it off. And that's another thing that we try to educate clients. Hey, do you need that line of credit? Because if you don't, the bank is just banking on it. Yeah. But
yeah, because with the line of credits, it's like a take and pull account. Credit cards,
it's never ending. Yeah.
Credit cards, you just take from it and pay for things with it, but you can't actually like take cash.
It's a different
line
tool.
of credit, like cash. It's so different, and I think that it does make it feel a little bit more like accessible. But like you said, it runs a balance constantly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Other thing that I was thinking of too is that there's a number of clients that I have also had that I understand that we're in a world of instant gratification. I do understand that. I don't love it, but I understand it. It's just the way that the world is right now. And something that I've helped clients do with the equity as well is, for example, they're getting into a home and they're like, oh, I want this. The list goes on, right? And I'm like, I love the goals. I love it. I was like, I wish I could get you everything. I was like, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of houses, sold hundreds of houses. And I'm like, I have yet to even see a house that checks off all my boxes.
Right.
So I'm like, how do we get you into a home that doesn't necessarily check all your boxes, but like, again, it's like forward goal thinking. And there was actually a client that just did this recently, and I'm like so happy about it, is that he really wanted a shop, but it was just out of the range. So we ended up buying a house that had the capability of having a shop, like zoning and like the setbacks, all of that stuff. We knew that's something that he wanted. And on his 5-year turnover, he was able to actually pull money from the equity of the house that he had gained.
Yeah.
In the appreciation in order to build his shop. So that was also like a good win.
That's amazing. Yeah. And another thing that comes to mind too, like a rental suite, right? If you buy a house that has potential for a rental suite, hey, you can use that equity to build that rental suite and make money off your house. That's just another example. And we do have stories like that as well.
I love the things that you can do with it, and it gives you the flexibility in order to move things around as needed, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
And think about it, whether the shop or rental suite or whatever rentals that you do, it will bring the value of your home. It will bring up the value of your home. And because of that, will also free up more equity potentially. There's a number of things that clients could be doing. But again, unless you don't know what you could potentially do. So if you were to ask me, okay, Kalinka, so how do clients start finding out, or what's the number one step from here? I would say it all starts with a conversation. There's no shame, there's no guilt for not knowing or for having debt. A lot of clients feel guilty for carrying over debt, but it all starts with a conversation. So whether it's with me or a different professional or with you, right, whatever that topic might be, it all starts with, hey, let's have a chat. I want to know more.
Yeah. And what we were mentioning even before is that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like, being okay asking questions, it's just going to help you have the knowledge in order for you to be able to make the smart decisions in order to get to financial freedom sooner, which essentially buys back your life so that you can spend it with the people that matter. It's like 100%. The longest study in history is that having like human connection and relationships is going to make you have a fulfilled life. People don't realize 100%. It, but like having your financial freedom and having strategies in place in order for you to have more freedom is, I do believe, is going to have a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Or sometimes I say, when people ask me, what do you do? I help people buy back time. Oh my gosh, how do you do that? Because let's just play the one scenario where you buy an investment property. Wouldn't you have more time? because now you're generating an income too. Wouldn't you travel? Wouldn't you spend more time with your kids? Wouldn't you retire sooner? So in a way, right, at the core of what we do, much more than just place a mortgage or do a transaction or buy real estate. There's so much more that we do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I am so happy with our conversation today. I feel like there's so many more questions I could ask you. However, it would end up making us talk for hours and hours. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I'm going to ask you to send me the links for the YouTube channels and stuff like that. Because I will want to put those into the show notes. But other than that, where can people find you? I think that the sentence that you said about just like starting the conversation is so important. So I want people to know where they can find you.
Yeah, 100%. It all starts with a conversation. I will leave my email and I will send it to you in the show notes. You can have it, but I have a website. It's www.kalinka.ca. You can also find me at the HomeHappy website. So homehappy.ca, very simple, plain and simple. I'll leave my phone number here. You can text me. Clients have our cell phones, our emails, and they can also find us on social media. So my Instagram is Kalinka Mortgages, and the HomeHappy Team is just HomeHappy on Instagram as well, so Facebook and all of that. But it's very simple to find us, and we are happy to have a conversation, happy to answer your questions and see what's possible for you. So thank you, Skyleigh, for having me. I really appreciate it. I think the conversation was great, and if there's any questions, we are here to answer.
Yeah, I'm super, super happy with the way the conversation went. And again, show notes with all of the links, because people need to have the most education possible.
Yeah.
That's a wrap on this episode of Real Estate Real Talk. Whether you're an agent building your business or a buyer or seller trying to get the real story, thanks for being here. If this episode gave you clarity, confidence, or just something to talk about, I'd love for you to follow, rate, and share the show. It helps more people find these conversations. If you have questions or want to connect, head over to SkyleighMcCallum.com or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for listening, and I hope you catch the next episode on Real Estate Real Talk.